Hello, this is Margaret Ajibola, the STEM Positive Disruptor, and today I have a special guest, Wuni Bitrus.
Yeah.
He will introduce himself. I'm a black female. I wear glasses. I've got a black frame glasses. I have on a cream top with a sort of a darker shade of cream cardigan. And today, I'm so grateful for Wumi to come on board to talk about what he does. He'll describe who he is or and what he's doing. But I do love his tagline, I live for deaf child. So without further ado, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So please introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Wuni Bitrus, the co-founder and director of Deaf Technology Foundation, based here in Nigeria. I'm a black male. I have black glasses and a cap and a traditional Nigerian gown.
Thank you. And today, I'm so impressed with Beatrice coming on board because one of the things we've been doing is we're talking about STEM and disability. STEM and disability because we talk
Yeah.
about STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to be more inclusive and accessible and show the diversity of people that work within the industry or people that we support within the industry itself. And so, I'm so grateful that, Beatrice is coming. He's based in the Nigeria, in Africa, and he's based in, is it the northern part of Nigeria? Is it northern part?
Yes.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
he's doing great work where disabilities, where children with deafness is concerned. And I just wanted to tell us more about that story because one of the things they're doing is to teach deaf children and young adults how to code and do other IT skills. And they saw a need there. And so he said, as I said, he's the CEO of Deaf Technology and also he's a disability rights advocate. So please tell us more about that.
Yeah. I'm a graduate of computer science and I have no background whatsoever in special education. Um, I thought I was just going to remain in the IT field, making a fortune and a living for myself. But then I encountered a deaf person when I was serving. There's this compulsory National Youth Service call for every undergraduate for a year. You're posted to different parts of the country. So when I met the girl, we usually have like holiday schools. When I met the girl, I was wondering why she isn't participating in our holiday classes. And then her sibling said she's deaf and all of that. And I was really delighted. I told them that I was going to come and see her. Now, after seeing her, I decided that if there's anything I could do during my stay at the National Youth Service Corps is just to see how I could help her. Now, the upon meeting her, I was told, the negative stereotypes we have that she's possessed with the spirit of deafness, all those negative stereotypes that we face in the society. So, but I was determined. I knew for some reason that the only challenge is communication. Once the problem of communication is solved, they are without limits. There is nothing they cannot achieve. So I took it upon myself to learn sign language. Within 2 weeks, I dedicated nothing less than 14 hours every day to learn sign language so that I could be able to communicate with her and in my own little way help her. And then she was actually suicidal then because nobody understood her. The people at home don't communicate. She's basically so going through the life's challenges alone. And then, you're being told you can't do it severally. So I was really compassionate. People, when they usually ask me why, I say I turned my compassion into a passion. And and that was how we started. With just one laptop, I'll go there. That's the only thing I could give her, computing skills. So, and then when every other deaf person knows that there's a guy who understands, sign language and is offering these classes for deaf people, everybody just came up. Now, maybe I'll pause for a while and allow you
No, I mean,
to.
this is about you, by the way, because I am celebrating you, Winnie, because of what you're doing. The thing is, you're fighting. I was looking on your is it Facebook? I know you're quite active in Facebook as well, and
Yeah,
I know that
yeah,
you're very strong advocate to break down those barriers and bring change.
right,
Because again, what you're doing is educating, raising awareness, changing perception and demystifying what it means to be deaf. Because really, what you're saying is that you notice that this young lady or young girl was not part of the environment. You couldn't understand why not, and then they raised that up, made you aware that she was deaf. So that it was going to be hard to communicate, but people couldn't see how they can make that difference and make time to do that. What you did is you saw that there was potential, even though you didn't know what type of potential that could be. And as you
yeah,
said, you translated your compassion to passion to make a difference
yeah,
in that young girl's life. Because one of the visions I read here, I'm going to quote it. Your vision or the Deaf Technology Foundation's vision is to build an ecosystem of software developers of ages 9 to 12 and STEM experts. The mission is to catch them early and equip them. That's deaf people that are
right,
that is so powerful because what you're saying is I'm making time out for you. What you're saying is that even though I have this technical background, how can I translate to make a difference in someone else's life? And it
right,
wasn't just a normal. When we say normal, it's all relative who you're speaking to, who's normal and who's not
right,
normal. But the physical side of things of someone being deaf and being isolated. What you're saying, I want to include you in this journey because I know you can learn, and that's what we want to do on this platform. That's what we want to do is to
right.
change perception and educate and raise awareness. And that's what you're doing where deaf people are concerned or young deaf people are concerned in Nigeria. So, I how has it been? How has it been? Because God, you're doing quite a lot of things. I know that you've had a lot of conversations, but how has the journey been thus far?
Okay, let me give a little background to the deaf community here in Nigeria.
Okay.
Um, you know, there are basically just two challenges in the deaf community that the deaf community face.
Hmm.
One is undereducation, and number two is that they're unskilled.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a community that is undereducated and underskilled, how do you expect them to earn a living?
Yeah.
So right from the get-go, um, they're just placed with a problem ahead of them. You know, I usually say that the Nigerian education system uh, wasn't built with deaf people in mind.
Mm, mm, mm.
So uh, I used to say it's an afterthought, but upon thinking upon thinking about it,
Yeah.
it's not even thought of at all. People see them as a charity case. When the
Yeah.
governor's wife wants to celebrate her birthday, she just goes to the school and give them snacks, and that's all. They don't care about the quality education and the welfare of deaf people. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, and even in the education sector,
Yeah.
I can tell you that they do not allow deaf individuals to enroll into science programs and classes.
Wow.
Yes, yes, in Nigeria. So once you're a deaf person, you go into the secondary school and you're already pushed to arts. And then from arts, when you're going to further your education, the only course that will be given to you is special education. There's nothing for them outside special education. And they want to be doctors, they want to be
Yeah.
pilots, and all
Yeah.
those things. But the education system is saying no, no, science is not for the deaf people. So don't even bring your hopes high. It's just blatant discrimination, and
Yeah.
they're just upfront with it. And we had two of our students when we initially started. They went to this private school. They are hoping they could study medicine, both of them.
Yeah.
But the school said it's not possible. They have interpreters. It's an integrated school. So
Yeah.
you're having
Yeah.
both the hearing and the
Okay.
deaf and other disabilities as well.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is provision for interpreters. Excuse me.
That's
And I'm
fine.
like, okay, you guys have interpreters, right? Just allow them. Try them, let's see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they said it wasn't possible at that time. So these children, those students kept writing me every week. They're depressed. One of them was even having suicidal ideations. She had to
Wow.
call her father, and then they called me. We went over to the school, and discussed with them.
Yeah.
But even though the school, after a discussion with them, the school decided that they are going to try it out and see.
Yeah.
They will see how the deaf students will cope.
Yeah.
So for the first time of the next semester, they um, they allow them to study science. And my goodness, Umar Yahaya, one of the students, was the top in the class. When you are having hearing people,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
same class as the deaf people, they said don't have the ability for sciences, you know. So, and that was good. I was happy.
Yeah.
I was satisfied. But after
Yeah.
a year, they had to stop the program. And it's really sad. And
But
then
why?
when we come to
I'm so sorry. I was going
go
to say, why did they stop the program? I don't understand that.
I really do not know. And honestly, I didn't create time to go and find out. But it was really a successful pilot project.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just obvious. I think some 3 years ago, I posted the boy's results, and
Yeah.
he was ahead of every hearing person in the class.
Yeah.
So he had to drop out of school and then join another hearing school so that he could write.
Carry on.
He could, yeah. So that's the challenge. And the thing is, it's not even when the problem is just okay, we're going to prevent you,
Yeah.
we're not going to allow you to enroll in science. If that's
Mm-hmm.
the only problem, that may be not be a big issue.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
biggest issue is that you know the education system. You go to so-called inclusive schools, they don't have sign language interpreters.
So,
You know,
no, Karen. Sorry, I feel I keep I oh, I want to scream. But
right, right, right.
why? Come on.
You know,
It, so what is the
it,
government doing? Because really, because there has to be policies in place that enforces change. Or is this because I know there's two types of schools. There's the private and then there's the streamlined schools. So is this
right.
So who are the drivers behind? Is it a private-led school or is it a government-led school? Or even does not matter. The government can put policies
The
in
government,
place.
the government schools are worse off
Okay.
in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Uh, but then the only plus for the government schools is that you're sure you have people who can sign. You could have some people who can, a good number of staffs can sign, do not well. And I, Margaret, the educational system is really infuriating. There's virtually a problem at every junction. So from
Yeah.
the enrollment, from the employment of qualitative staffs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and so let me just paint a little scenario for you.
Yeah.
So you're having um let's say the special education, you're
Mm.
having the deaf people who will compete with the hearing people
Yeah.
to become teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, but the hearing people have solid foundation.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes, but deaf people from deaf schools who honestly there's nothing to write home about. Sorry, it's not that I'm bashing it. I'm
No,
just
no,
painting.
no. But what you're saying, this is reality. You're saying this is
Yeah, it's
reality,
reality.
and we
Right,
need to
right.
find a way to change that. And what would you say
Yeah,
you need to change that?
yeah. So I think the major issue is, the institutions that are responsible for training teachers and that are going to be employed into the system needs to do well.
Yeah.
And I think it needs a total overhaul.
Yeah.
The issues are endless. We could talk
Yeah.
about, giving this O-level exams, that the deaf people and the hearing people are going to sit,
Yeah.
example in, they are going to sit for English, and then you're having phonetics for a deaf person, posing questions to
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand? So, um, so what we saw these challenges,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for the depth for the life of me, I couldn't just turn a blind eye to it.
No. No, of
And
course not.
I so much believe in our people, our community.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I know the problem is just communication. And then we
Yeah.
have to fight the stereotypes and the
Yeah.
marginalization, whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we need to be able to, first of all, prove to the world and the society that,
Yeah.
hey, these guys actually have potentials.
Of course.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
look at this. Look at this. This is
Yeah.
what they can do. So
Yeah.
that's the only way we are going to like meaningfully change the system. It's like we have a working system here, and it
Mm.
shows that they are so good at this thing,
Yes.
even better than their counterpart. So that
Yeah.
was the mindset. Okay, let's just go into this. Um, and honestly, I hate saying this, but most times during those early days when we meet parents, please, can you allow your students to come over and learn? It's free. You don't have
Yeah.
to pay anything.
Pain.
You
Yeah.
know, they'll say, nah, just forget about it. Why would I be? It's not that I'm expecting anything from them. It's not that they're going to amount to anything anyway. So it's just waste of time.
Wow.
So
That is hard. That's hard. That's hard. That is hard.
right.
That is hard. That. Sorry, I'm just. But you know what? This is why I love what you're doing, Winnie. I really I applaud you. I really appreciate you as a human being that saw a need and you felt there was something you can do, even with the limited resources that you had. found a
right,
way to make a difference. As I said, I've seen some information on you on Facebook and what you plan, and the children have come to the young people and how they excel in there. But issues are there. And the issues not just, I know we're talking about Nigeria in particular, that's where you're based and that's where the issues are. But even in the so-called well-advanced environment community, there are struggles where
right,
disability is concerned, where STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and disability is concerned, we're still not being able to, unless you have the right support people, or people who believe in you, people who want to support you,
mhm,
people who see you as more than deaf, then you're going to be
mhm,
stuck or
right,
or disabled. Again, your disability can be visual and your disability can be hidden. And I think this is what we're saying. This is why this series of conversation is about raising those awareness, but also educating, because the more we talk about it, the more we can change the way people see people that have
right,
disability and give them hope, because really there
right,
are, just because of that disability does not mean that they're not human. They're more than capable, just they need a bit of a helping hand or a different adjustment to enable them to excel. And that's what you're doing, Winnie. This is what you're
yeah,
doing in Nigeria, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so blessed that you're taking time to talk to me. And so you keep making talking about, it's about communication. So how would you take it to the next level? What do we need to do? Because really we can talk from morning to night and still talk and still not bring it. So how can we provide practical solutions? And what should the wider community, not just based in Nigeria, but across the world, what should we be doing? Because really, you're doing great work, and I don't know how you get your funding, I don't know how you support yourself, but what would you like to see? Practical solutions. What are the things apart from the financial side of things? Let's spread the word if they can bring support, but also get the government in Nigeria to start talking, because we can't. The only way we can change is by talking about it, but also be in a place of influence to bring those changes as well. And so that's so important. You made a point. You said it's when all these maybe someone celebrating their birthday well off and they want to show, oh, look at me. I'm helping. I'm giving gifts to this. But that's patronizing. That's patronizing. That's
yeah,
it's more for the people to say,
yeah,
look at me, rather than being a genuine, really, I want to support these people. I want to support this community. They're not just these people. They are part of the community.
right, right,
They have
right,
potential, just like an able or a hearing person. They have the same potential if you give them the chance to showcase themselves. Because you made an example about the
right,
pilot program that was done, and this guy, he was deaf. He was a top scorer. Doesn't that indicate that
yeah,
the potential is there? So what would you like?
mhm,
What would you
mhm,
like to see happening? Again, this is your platform to talk about it. We can talk about the problems, but we want to provide solutions as well. So,
right,
Winnie, what would you like to
right.
see?
Um, to 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 address the issue regarding the communication, um, you know, people usually want to um, go and explore languages. They want to add the number of languages they can to their right. But you know, I want to encourage people to consider sign language. It's just as important as learning
Yeah,
French,
yeah,
speaking
of
the second
course.
or third languages. People are deliberate about that now. So, but we need to see people realize, first of all, that sign language, it's a language.
Yeah, very
It's
true.
not just it's not just some gestures or a way to get by, but it's a rich language. And everybody should consider learning sign language because for me, it's not just about their teachers learning to communicate in sign language. It is there, but as well from the community, you know, when you learning doesn't start and end in the classroom, right? It goes out and perhaps in the media, you know, in the community, at home, you know, you get to learn. For instance, you are the only one in your family that speaks French. How would you get by? You can virtually learn little to nothing from your family, even though they are well advanced in their careers, you know. But when we have families, you know, learn embracing sign language, you know, and we'll see a greater community of people who speaks the language, and also will now break the barrier. That's just it, the barrier. And then, you know, advocacy doesn't end. We just have to keep advocating for this, because basically the society usually look at hearing loss from a medical perspective, a medical model of disability. And so you go to hospitals and the doctors will tell parents that if you want your child's hearing to improve, you must make sure they don't sign. They don't communicate in sign language, because if they do, it will impact their speech. And I've met a lot of parents that, yeah, right. I met a lot of parents. And you know, because it's a doctor, it's a trained professional that tells the parent this, the parents will run with it. They say, please don't communicate to my child in sign language. I was like, why? It's just a language. I mean, I've been speaking sign language for about 10 years now, and my speech has never reduced. So, and that's when you get to find issues such as the language deprivation, which ultimately affects their academics, you know. So, yes, advocacy, we've started, but we went to top hospitals and interacted with them. But there's always so much to be done. You know, policies needs to be in place. We need people that will talk with the government. We can't do everything. And and honestly, sometimes I just wish I could just focus on one thing and do it very well. You know, but the challenges are so big. But I believe we're getting there gradually.
Indeed. Do you know, I mean, because you know we're talking about STEM and the environment. It's, you know, you talked about the school being integrated. Yes. So talking about being inclusive and getting the education system to change, we need advocates within the education system to think out of the box. That means to take away from the normal way. We've always done it this way. So that's the only way we can do it. To hold on a minute, there's a diverse type of people that are within our community that includes the people with disability. So I know we're talking about people with deafness. So apart from learning sign language, what other things can they do to make sure the education system is inclusive? What other things should they do, especially where science STEM is concerned? Because one of the things you said is that normally if you're deaf, they like to encourage you to do things where art or go pursue art. And art is the multitude, could be a range of stuff. So how can we get the education system or beyond that to start seeing the potential of someone that is there, that the potential is there for them to become whatever they want to be, whether a scientist, a technologist, an engineer, or a mathematician, or whatever, or a person or a doctor, it doesn't matter. So how can we change that?
Okay. Even the art class is just because it's a general class and they will eventually go to special education because
Mm,
special education again is the only course they are allowed to enroll.
mm,
Now, we have laid the foundation and have the blueprint which could be adapted to other
okay,
fields,
okay.
right? Um, Already we have established web developers who are deaf, who are working with even companies in Nigeria here. So, and I think that could be adapted in other fields. So we, besides programming and robotics, we also have STEM classes.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, and that we strictly focus on introducing them to chemistry, physics, mathematics, and biology.
Mhm.
Now, um, we used to have it twice a week. We have one of our staff who studied chemistry, and she used to handle those classes. And we have some three people who are assisting her, and they're doing well.
Mhm.
You know, it's just the communication is just everything. I wish I could say that enough. Now because the teacher who is standing before them understands sign language.
Yeah.
She is breaking down those things for them in the language they can understand.
Understand.
And if
Yeah.
they have challenges, and
Yeah.
if they have challenges, they don't have to find some geometrical measures or ways to communicate the challenges. They just
That's right.
use the language.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So um, I really would love to see that replicated in schools.
Okay.
We, yes, we are partnering with one school.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, but it's going to be a pilot project as well. They seem to be very open to such to such what would I say, such programs.
Yeah, of
So
course.
we want to see how it could work. And at least if it could work in a school and this school are willingly applying it
Yeah.
and implementing it, it just means that um, we have another working model in the school.
Indeed.
Maybe
Indeed.
we just need to find funding to keep the program running, because I
Mm-hmm.
think the first school we we did that pilot project. I think they were mentioning um, what do they call it? Right, financing um, the pilot program, hiring interpreters and stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, they don't want to bear the burden of that. And of course, it wouldn't be fair for parents to bear the burden alone.
That's
But
true.
right now we are having state governments across Nigeria establishing disability rights commission.
What does that
Now,
how does that translate to practical stuff?
yeah, the thing is, there is a body we can work with. Basically, that's their job. They look
Okay.
into rights of persons with disabilities in every aspect,
Okay.
channel it to the government, and then they are the official body that the government will work with.
Okay.
So we'll
So
just have to, mhm. Yeah, we'll
so
just have to be hopeful.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right. Because we'll just have to be hopeful and keep pushing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, something good can come out of it.
Well, I mean, look, the thing is, you're doing great stuff. I think it, looking from how you started, instead of this young lady
Right.
that was not. part of the group, and you can understand why she was not there. I mean, I've read the
Right.
story on your Facebook where you talked about you going to visit her and then bring her, and then then you realize, and then you found a way, and then this is where you said it took you 2 weeks to learn sign language. And to
Yeah.
me, you said this is what I love of what you said. You said, I turned my compassion into passion. And so you wanted to break down those barriers and change what
Yeah.
how the life would have been for her if you didn't
Mhm.
get involved. And I think that is a powerful, powerful thing, because your tagline says, I live for the deaf child. That means I'm
All
going to
right.
do whatever it takes to bring them to the forefront, to whatever it takes to bring them to that potential level that is there for them. Because just because you're deaf does not mean you can't do it. It's just that society
Right.
cannot see beyond their norm. And it's changing
Mhm.
that norm. That means thinking out of the box to let them see the potential of people that have deafness. It's a disability, but it's not their ability. Their ability is still as powerful and is still as strong if given the chance. And I love just fast forwarding what you're saying. You're piloting with a school to bring change, but how would the government know what you're doing? Because it's good to start from where you are, but you're already doing something. How do you then take it to a beyond your small remit to a bigger, like the local, the national? I don't know. I'm just trying to understand. I know you also mentioned about, the school is wary about the resources to get to support sign language, yeah. And so they can't again. So what would you like, because this is your platform to tell us what to do, or to gain garner support as well. What would you like to see, but also to see maybe people in Nigeria may hear you, because I'm sure people know about you. But if there's a need, and you're still struggling, you're still fighting, yes, keep pushing, because that's how you've broken down those walls. But there must be other people who must be thinking, hold on, I've never really thought about it this way. What can I do to support what Winnie's doing in northern part of Nigeria? What can I do? What can we do? How can we then translate that across the west, east, north, south side of Nigeria, and make it a national thing? Where everyone that has some form of disability is integrated into society, and the value they can bring to society as well. That's what I wanted. So what would you like to see happening? So is that a question I
Right.
should have asked?
No problem. Um, I would really love to see institutions and government be open to such programs. Um, Again, we just have to keep pushing. The University of Jos, right here,
Yeah.
the VC was talking about looking into how they will allow deaf people to study other courses. But he said this like 2, 3 years ago. Uh, we just have to hold them accountable to their words. We make promises. Promises are easy here. People make a lot of promises, especially our politicians.
Yeah, well,
But
I think politicians all over the world are like that. They say lots of
right,
things to
right,
win their
right.
vote, and then after that, you don't see them anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the thing is, we have we have national representatives. I mean, from the deaf community, there is the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities that was established, I think, 6 years ago.
hmm
Um, we just have to find a way to make them see the need so that they will prioritize this because
How? Give me
um,
what I'm trying to say. Apart from communication, apart from getting people to learn sign language, how would you see that? Because you said this community has been in for 6 years and nothing has changed. And you're still waiting for something and you're still pushing through. Schools, private schools, I believe there's more private schools that people go for private schools. And so even the private
right,
schools, I say, well, I don't have the means, I can't see how we can bring support or support these people with disabilities. And how would you say that we can change that? Because we need to. You're doing great work, and I'm really celebrating what you're doing with it. Please don't ever stop doing
right,
what you're
right,
doing. I love your passion, I love your drive, and I love your time. I live for deaf child, and I see what you've been doing. How you've got protesters standing saying, no, we can't accept this as being. So based on your experience, based on what you have done thus far, what are the practical translation of what you're doing, your blueprint of what you're doing, where there's a pilot study being done at this school, how can then be rolled across? What's the thing? How do we get people to the table to start talking? The government, the education system, the industry. How do we get them to start talking? Because that's what you want. Because you can, in your corner, you can do so much, but unless you're in the place of influence, you're
right,
limited to how much you can do. That's what we want to bring you to
right,
the
right.
place where you can start influencing and bring those change that's already happening on the ground floor. I mean, in the grassroots community.
Right. I understand your point, and it's true. Um, to continue hoping that a change will happen remotely or automatically it's a bit risky because you need someone who can get it done. However, I'm thinking to if we have to create more than just the noise, if we have to be able to advocate and get the government's attention,
Yeah,
one thing is key for us. It has to be funding because we have the passionate people. We are
yeah,
passionate as well. But
yeah,
getting in contact with these influential people, the
yes,
politician in
yeah,
government,
yeah.
it's not going to be an easy one. But
Okay.
if we could get funding, number
Mm,
one, for those pilot projects in schools, so that the school doesn't have to worry about finances.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, we will focus on the quality of the interpretation and see that the students are served well. Then we can now go ahead and meet with the ministries of education and have an audience with them. And I believe if they see a working system, they will definitely would like to explore. I mean, we have people who are really compassionate towards the needs of persons with disabilities, but
mm.
it's just that they don't know how to
How
help
to, yeah,
other
yeah,
than
yeah.
giving freebies.
Well, yeah,
So yeah,
that
yeah,
is okay, temporary, but it's not fixing the problem. What you're saying, oh, look at me,
no,
I'm doing
right,
this, pat, 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 but it's still, the problem still persists.
right, right,
Um,
right,
so, because I'm sorry, I'm trying to, I'm looking at,
right,
okay, I know funding is a big thing, but what? I'm just trying to, the practical funding is a big thing. Is because I'm hearing is that you want people to buy in, you want them to buy into this blueprint that you have that works in the from the grassroots community. So how can they do that unless they see what you're doing? Yes, you're doing this pilot project with this school, but and then you need funding. But how then can you take it to the next level? That's my question. That's really what I want to say. I'm trying to see how can we do that. And is there people that we can talk to, maybe we can, I don't know, and maybe they're international organizations that maybe do sponsor projects similar to what you're doing, that maybe you can tap
mm,
into. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I'll look around, but also I've got somebody in my head that is based in Nigeria that maybe he's an engineer, but he's quite influential in that. I don't know, but from what I understand, he's quite influential. I'll see if I can connect him with you. But I don't. Again, this is about you starting a conversation. It's up to you, and hopefully him. He will be open to what you're doing, and maybe he can then signpost you to other people that can maybe have a conversation and maybe start something. But your blueprint has to be what I'm trying to get you to do is to, when you are in front of them, is what are those things apart from the communication side of things, about the signposting? What would this financial incentive, or what would this door, if I can open it, what would it bring? What would it help you to do? That's what I'm trying to get. Because we can talk about the problem, but if we can bring the
right,
solutions to the table, then that will make a huge difference, right?
right, right.
So that I want you to think about it. You don't have to share it here.
Okay.
But I would like you to think about it, because if you're brought before somebody, again, I said I'm thinking, and I don't know, but I'll send you some link to, maybe I don't know. I think the international institutions who do help support certain projects in Africa. I don't know if that relates to, but unless you try, you never know. But I'll see
Right.
what I will send you the link. Then you need to do some research and see whether or not there's some synergy between what you're doing and what they are funding
Mm,
itself. But also, I will also make a. I will also send you. I would make an introduction between this person and you, and assume, I don't know, maybe he can signpost to somebody. But what I'm saying is that when you're brought in front of them, what it is, you have to be clear in your mind that in the first minute
right,
or so, this is what I want.
right,
Yes, I do want this
right.
funded, but what am I, what does that translate to in the practical schemes of things, to where it opened door
Mm,
to not just your grassroots community, but also goes into the government, goes into the education
mhm.
system, from your own part of the world in Nigeria to across the board. Does that make sense? Because that's, you're a change maker.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
And this is
yeah.
for you to, again, don't get me wrong. I love what you do, and I'm applauding you. And I don't have the answers, but what I'm saying is that you have to think about, for us to make our world more inclusive and more diverse and accessible, there are things that needs to be put in place,
Mm,
especially where disability is concerned, because that's what we're talking about, STEM and disability. So
right.
it's just something for you to think about. But I will send you the link that what I'm thinking of that may potentially be able to support, because I know they do support, they do fund certain projects in Africa. I don't know how it works, but you can do some more research, and maybe there's some synergy there. But also I'll signpost you to somebody else, and I'll see whether or not, again, maybe he can signpost to somebody within, um because he does, yeah. Anyway, again, I'm just doing a connection. It's up to you and him to have the
Uh,
conversation itself. But
mm,
I'm so grateful for what you're doing. I applaud you. You're a wonderful and powerful advocate, disability advocate, rights advocate, and what you're doing is just amazing. And I really do hope that, people see what you're doing, not just in your local community but beyond that, because what you're doing
mm,
is powerful. The fact that you saw a need, you didn't know it was going to take you this way, but it's that's your ministry, that's who you are, and that's what you're showcasing today. And you made a difference to that young girls, and now other people are
mm,
embracing and enjoying that as well.
mm.
So Winnie, I'm so grateful. I'm so proud of you, and I'm
Thank
celebrating
you.
you too. So keep on
Yeah,
keeping on. But we need to move it to next level now, yeah? But keep
yeah,
on
yeah,
keeping on.
yeah, sure.
So proud of, so proud of you. And I say thank you again for coming on this platform. Is there anything else you would like to say to that the people know about, because we talk about STEM and disability, it's STEM with the deaf community and how to build, but there are quite a few issues. It's not just education, it's cultural, there's so many different elements that Nigeria in a way has to start thinking in a different way. And that's why we set up this platform to educate, to raise awareness, to change perception and demystify what STEM is. But when we say STEM, but also beyond that, because for STEM to work, we need other people to see how it can marry with what's going on with the young people that are coming up. And that's what your vision is, isn't it? Is to build
Yeah.
is to build an ecosystem of software developers who have disabilities, disabilities, and STEM experts,
Right.
so that they can make a difference. Because when they see
Right.
people, if they see people that are deaf doing that work, it encourages others. They become role models to other people as well, and that's what
Right.
you're doing right now. So
Mhm.
thank you. So, any last words you want to give before we? You don't have to, by the
Um,
way.
oh, I want to.
You want to, or you don't
I,
want?
I want to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. The inclusion is not just for persons with disabilities. Inclusion is for everyone. We as well, who are without disabilities,
Yeah,
will are benefiting from inclusion.
yeah,
And when we keep isolating persons with disabilities from products and services, we just may not know. Um, the the solution to cancer may be from one of persons with disabilities.
so
And
true.
unless we empower them, we
Yeah,
wouldn't see um, solutions we wouldn't see their potential see the light of the day. So
yeah.
we should we should listen to them. We should walk with them. Learn sign language, everybody. Learn sign language.
This is
Right.
all I know.
Okay. Right.
But you're
Yeah.
right.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm learning all the time because before I started on this journey about STEM and disability, there are lots of things I didn't do well because I didn't understand. And I think this is so important every time I have a conversation. This is my third conversation. I learned something new, and that's what we do as human beings. We
Right.
should be open
Right.
to learn and adjust as well, because there are other people that can influence us in a positive way and understand it. So
Right.
people with disability, just because they have a disability does not mean they can't also bless you and give you words of wisdom, or provide you something that you've never thought about. And that's something you're saying. Inclusion should
Yeah.
be for everybody because we will all learn and we will all enjoy as well. So
Right.
thank you so much, Winnie. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure
It's my
discussing
pleasure.
with
Thank you so much. Thank you.
you. All right.
Hey, thank you. Again, this is Margaret Ajibode, the STEM Positive Disruptor, and my special guest, Wuni Bitrus. Oh, what an amazing and powerful person, and how he's breaking down those barriers in Nigeria, where his motto is "I live for deaf child," to integrate them into the education systems, for them to be accepted and be valued, because they are a valued part of our community, and that makes a difference. Again, we want you, if you enjoy this conversation, please like, comment, subscribe, and bring suggestions. If there's any way you can support what Win is doing, please reach out to him. Reach out to him. How can they reach out to you, please? How can they reach out to you?
On LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah, they could
So
reach out to me on LinkedIn.
okay. So please reach out to him because he's doing great work in Nigeria, where the deaf community is concerned, especially young deaf community, and trying to get them integrated into the education system. And please listen to whole full conversation because it's so powerful. It's thought provoking as well. Anyway, thank you so much. and I hope you enjoy this part of our conversation too. Thank you.